All right, we got this ABA C83. It is the new type of pinning, so it's got security pinning on the key pins and on the drivers. Very refreshing coming off of doing that trio ving or tree ving, however you want to say it. Only spent a few hours opening this. It was new for me because it was spool T-pins, and we'll talk through some of that in a second. All right, so basically with the spool T-pin, the T-pin has that little bit of extra edge, and we'll show that later. Make sure that obviously it's making the driver pins are making direct contact with that T-pin. You don't want the spools upside down, otherwise it really doesn't count. All right, so you'll see, just like a regular spool, you'll see the counter rotation, and then really just find that extra little, if you kind of keep in mind, say I'm counter rotating on number 2, when I do finally get it to kind of counter rotate and get it and kind of set it, it's probably not all the way in. You got to give a little bit more force later, and that might require setting, the standard. This actually doesn't have a standard; it has a serrated, but that's kind of acting as a standard to keep that core lined up. All right, so let's go through this. All right, so real quick, let's just actually have the key work. There's the key. All right, decent bitting, a really low cut here. So nothing too extreme on it. All right, let's start it out. All right. Nothing on 1. Let's get the focus in here. Nothing on 2, 3, 4, 5 is binding, and that's best rated. There's 1 click, 2. And listen, it makes a very distinct click. Going back to 1, 1's binding, and a little bit of a false set. 1 is squishing, 2. 3 is now binding. A little bit of rotation, so I'm going to apply some counter rotation. Look for that first click. And say that first click, because chances are I'll have to go to 4, nothing there. 5 is back binding. I'm going to go through all those clicks until I get that unique sound. A little bit of extra sound that, there we go, see? Tells you that I'm kind of set on that. 1 is binding. 1's good, I just broke through. 2, 3, up, and see how I pushed a little bit more and it caused that rotation. So 3 is set now. 4 is binding. Here's the rotation. Counter rotation to get to the rotation. Okay, got a click, and I'm gonna do a little bit more pushing on it. Okay, nothing on it. So I went back to 5 and didn't feel it. Going back to 1. 1 is binding. Okay, 1 broke through. 2, tapping 3, a little click. Looking for 4. There's 4, and now I got a good click, so that T-pin set. 5 still feels set, and something's really high. I might have put, there's 1, 2 is really high, so working on 2. So I'm gonna let it kind of rotate. Got a click, whole bunch of stuff went up, so I'm gonna be doing a lot. Get back in, back on number 5. Going through the serration. Giving that unique click, back to 1, nothing on 1, 2. Nothing on 2. I think 2 isn't set. Let me check that. I think 2 isn't set, and I'm gonna have to, there we go, now it's 2 set. 3, now 3's back. Okay, 2 came back up. We got going right back to 5. 5 had a good click. Go back to 1. 1 broke through. 2 feels good. 3 good click on 3. 4 is now up. So 2 and 3 should be set. Being slow in the counter rotation. Good. Got a good click. 5 didn't go up. I'm gonna check on 4. Check on 1. 1. A little click on 1. Check on 2. 2 feels good. 3. A little click on 3. 4. And we're open. All right, so obviously you can see just that extra little tapping to set those T-pins. Now let's show you what those look like, okay? So let's take this out and keep this in frame. Get this device out of the way and bring this in. Keeping everything in frame. What we'll do is we'll pop this out real quick. All right, and let's zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit clearer. All right, there's a little bit of zoom in. All right, so this was the old C-clip, obviously just a very bendable metal, so I replaced it with just a plastic one that gives me a nice, so this is open, obviously I'm just going to close it back up for now, and we'll just pop this bad boy back off the back, which makes it really easy to pop off, and now we can get our tools in there and get it open. Okay, so let's get the key in, and this is the decoder, has this nice little printout so you can actually see the order of things, and you can see the serrated was in the back, and that's kind of acting as your standard to keep everything lined up when you have spools. let's drop this out. So slide this in. Okay, so let's put you here for now. Just keep you in the background. All right, let's just bring you up here so you can see. So here's my 5 pins. And you can actually see a little bit of gapping in some of these because there's actually T-pins and the key pins. All right, so I'm going to pull this. We're going to go one at a time and pull these out. So what I'll do is I'll just get the key out of the way. Keys out of the way, and let's drop them. Okay, so here's one. So there's one, and that is a spooled key pin. Okay, number 2. Okay, that is a little bit of a T-pin. So let's give you a little bit of that. See, it's a T-pin. And this one's just a spooled key pin. Okay, no T-pin on that. Okay, number 3. 3 dropped out, and that is a serrated key pin. Okay, going to 4. 4, like we talked about, is another T-pin key pin. And then finally 5. Put this core off to the side. You can see here, that is another key pin, T-pin. All right, so every single security. So now let's get this up and show you that these are oriented in the correct direction, because that's important, obviously. All right, so bringing this up. Get the first one. So you can see that T-pin right there, and that's a spool. So spool T-pin. The T-pin is in the correct direction. So let's pull this out. Okay, let's take the spring out. Okay, now next one, right? So look at the next one, make sure it's in the right direction. And you can see this T-pin, spool T-pin, it is in the right direction. Skew out. Okay, next one. And again, there's the T-pin, spool T-pin in the correct direction. I'm going to drop him out. There it is. Right, let's get that spring out. All right, now let's flip it around. And you can see that is the serrated one. Let's get it so you can see it. This is the serrated one. We'll give you a close-up on that later. So that's the 5th one. And finally, let's take the spring out. Spring fell. All right, and finally, last one. Take a look. Let it get in view, because there you go. See the T-pin? Gotta get it, let it get in view. T-pin's on top. Slowly let that go up so you can get a good view of it. There it is. So T-pin was facing those key pins. All right. So that's proof that everything was in the correct direction. I can give you a little close-up. And there you go. So there's your close-up, and you got your spooled key pin, your T-pin key pin, you got a serrated key pin, you have a T-pin key pin, and a T-pin key pin. And then finally, we have a spooled T-pin, spooled T-pin, spooled T-pin, spooled T-pin, and your serrated. So again, on that, if you're working on these newer ones, pretty much after you get that rotation, and then you work that counter rotation, it goes back in. So you get, you kind of work your full set out, and it locks back in. Sometimes when you do your little jiggle test, to be honest with you, I really don't even do a jiggle test, because what I do is I just kind of push a little bit on it. I have a good amount of tension on it, so by pushing a little bit more on it, usually you'll feel it go even further. And could I do a jiggle test? Absolutely. They're very stiff, but I don't tend to, because I apply enough tension where it's already in a false set, right? So because it's already in a false set, the chance of me oversetting is probably pretty low. If everything was straight up and down, you would overset it and it'd be a big deal. So the T-pins, the nice thing about it is that because the core is already turned, you're much less likely to overset and have a problem there. So that was that.